What is up, Rap Potential YouTube? Welcome to today's video. We are going to go on an adventure with the 99 car. This is a 1984 GSLSE RX-7 that is 100% just about un-GSLSE'd. It has a 12A, 4x110 brakes. This has been the chassis swap car for my 1980 car right here. So, if this is your first time on the Rap Potential YouTube channel, go check out some of the other videos. The last video, we just finished up the rally car out there. Not really finished it up, but I got the main stripes on it. It looks sick if you can see it in the sun. Zoom in, hold your phone real close to your face. So, what are we going to do to the 99 car? Well, it's not quite done yet. And while the vinyl's getting cooked in the sun, I got a nice weekend here to mess with some stuff. I need to change the steering wheel for not this one, because this is garbage. This steering wheel is. I think I have a hub, and I'm going to just throw my little Momo wheel in it for now. I need to get another steering wheel ordered for this car. I need to sort out the first place, the shifter boot here, put the console back in, and then I'm going to mount my gauge pod up here. So I had a little gauge pod 3D printed that goes right here with my oil pressure and oil temperature gauges, and then I got to wire those up to hook to so they actually read something. And then I'm going to swap this seat out with the seat from the silver car. So, because the Sparco seats for the Win and GSLSE seats sit a little bit high, in my opinion, so that Sparco seat gets me nice and lower in the car, more comfy. So, let's fire this thing up. It's a 12A, full bridge. It sounds awesome. Ignore the low coolant beeper. I gotta, hook that up too. Oh, and I'm gonna mount the bumper, so I don't have to worry about it coming off. The brakes can use a bleed. It's a project car. Sometimes the tack only reads half. I guess I should look at that too. My tack came back. So if you've never heard the bridge, this is how all rotary cars should sound. Alright. Before I die of carbon monoxide poisoning, because this car's really bad about it. So, I don't know why the tack's reading funny. My guess is that this purple wire is what I found to be the tack wire. If this car has had a history, go watch the first video. It's had a bunch of different engines in it. The wiring harness is kind of sketch. Also, the alternator doesn't charge, so I need to address that at some point as well. And I'd like to actually build an intake. For all you guys hating on me for not having an intake air filter on my car, I'm going to build an air box that goes from here, around here to here. I'm going to shorten this, or I'm actually going to lengthen this and then make the air box fit around it so you fill your oil through the air box. But anyways, there'll be an air box here, and I'm going to relocate the battery to the other side of the car, not to the back. I hate rear-mounted batteries. They're a pain in the butt because the trunk doesn't work if the battery's not hooked up on these, and then you got to it's a real pain. So I prefer to keep my battery in the front. So we're just simply going to remake a little battery tray on that side somehow. I'll build something that fits down in that hole to hold a battery. We'll move the coolant reservoir over here, and then I can section this off and have an air filter over here, or run a tube that goes down into in front of the radiator. So, because as much as, the extra horse, we can't put filters right on the carburetor because it robs horsepower. And it ruins the purpose of having a trumpet, right? If you put a filter really close to the trumpet of your Weber carburetor, you essentially are taking away from the airflow's ability to stabilize before it goes through the carburetor, because that's what that trumpet is there for. Like a longer and shorter trumpet, and the taper and all that matters to the airflow coming into your engine. And if you restrict it right away, you're not going to get good airflow. So, a lot of things to do. We're just going to start doing stuff. We'll see where this video goes, but for sure need to get the interior buttoned up, and for sure need to get the front bumper attached, and for sure need to figure out better fitting wheels, because that's garbage. So let's get cracking. I mean, it ain't gonna fall off like that. I think I want to cut these flares. Tip and trick, right, for hooking up aftermarket gauges, okay? Generally, on an aftermarket gauge, thing you want added on, if it's a digital gauge, not a mechanical gauge, you're going to have an assortment of wires that come out of the back of the gauge, right here. So I built this nice little harness. These are the factory wires that came with the gauge, not lengthened, not anything, okay? So, on that harness, you're going to have... That was an assorted big, large bug. On that harness, you're going to have a power wire, okay, red. You're going to have a ground wire, black. You're going to have, most likely, an orange wire, which is going to turn on the gauge's dimmer function or turn on the gauge's separate color. The orange wire gets hooked into your dash lights. So when you turn your headlights on, the gauge dims, right? Then you're going to have whatever sensor wire is required, okay? So, for a temperature sensor, typically they only have one wire. The other side of the wire on the sensor gets grounded, which you can ground in the engine bay. You don't have to ground it back to the gauge. The oil pressure sensor has two wires that go to the sensor, not just the one. And these two go through the sensor and back to the gauge so it can read the resistance in that spring-loaded pressure sensor. So, how are you going to power these on your car, right? I prefer, my tip and trick is always to use the cigarette lighter, okay? On an RX-7, your cigarette lighter is keyed on, so when you turn the key, it turns the cigarette lighter on. It doesn't stay on all the time. The second part, on an RX-7, the cigarette lighter has a light in it, right? You can see the light right here, this little red wire. This red wire lights up the cool orange ring around your cigarette lighter so you know where to plug your phone charger in or to light up a little dart. So, this cigarette lighter is fused from the factory, has factory wiring. On RX-7s, they're bullet connectors like so, like this. So, what I'm going to do is simply intercept the power and the light signal from the cigarette lighter. Most of your new gauges are LEDs. You're not drawing a lot of current. Not a big deal. And what that is going to entail, which I'll show you here, is I'm going to build basically a wire that connects into the factory bullet connector that comes out of that bullet connector into three wires. One wire hooks up to the cigarette lighter factory position. The second wire hooks up to my oil pressure gauge. The third wire hooks up to my oil temperature gauge. That be to the orange wire on the gauges. The second one is the main power for the cigarette lighter. Same thing, three wires. Comes out of the factory harness. Two of those wires go to the gauges. One goes to the cigarette lighter. Therefore, the cigarette lighter still works. My gauges are hooked up to fuse power. And I didn't have to actually modify anything on the car. You don't have to cut any wires. You don't have to do anything. Cigarette lighter is key. On an S1 car, same thing. This is a cigarette lighter for an S1 car. This is actually the dash insert that I made for my silver car. And That's all I did right there. No factory harness modifications required. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So I'm going to make those jumper harnesses. If you didn't see, this is my gauge pod that I've made for the first gen. My buddy Josh here locally in town 3D printed this up for me. We kind of dreamt it up, modified off the ones he's got. This thing is going to sit at an angle like this on the cluster, which I'll show you real quick. And then in the next few clips, you're going to see me install it, run the wires, and you'll see the finished product. So this is where the gauge cluster is going, right here. So I don't know if you guys like that positioning. I'm literally just going to double side tape it. You can see that it's not in your face. It's out of the way. I may shave down the back corner of this, which you can't see what I just pointed to, but this little back corner touches the windshield a little bit. So I may just flatten that out a little bit so it doesn't actually touch. And then just mount that guy right there. Hear it kind of touching. I'd like to scoot it back just a tad in that spot. So I may just take my grinder to it, flatten it out, and we'll touch it up with some black. So I'm going to go ahead, like I said, get these installed. It's going to look pretty JDM because you're going to be able to see the wires and stuff coming out of the back of the gauge cluster as it sits. And I have some black plastic. I'm going to try to make a little cover for the backs of these so you don't see all the stickers. I don't want to remove all the stickers because this tells me all the specs on the gauge. And if I ever move into another car that you can't see it, then I might keep them there. So just going to cover those up. These are little Pro Sport Evo gauges. If you saw in the silver car, the mouse had those in there before. So let's get back to work. The headlights are looking sick. Meshies or get new wheels? Probably new wheels. Mucho better fitment. But I do like the meshies. They look pretty tough. Look pretty tough. Alright, my dudes, we have achieved some success here. So, we got the gauges mounted. We got all the wiring buttoned up underneath. Notice everything's put back together. I don't actually have... Oh, I do have the bottom to the clamshell. Okay. I guess I gotta figure out how to put that back on. Is that even the right one? Oh, yeah, it is. So I gotta get the bottom of the clamshell back on. It's this one's gray. That piece is brown, and I have a red interior. That's what happens whenever you use all the good parts on other things. This is my old, as you can see, old Momo Prototipo steering wheel. So I got this steering wheel with the yellow rally car, and it's one of the things I kept from the yellow rally car. So if you haven't been around to see the yellow rally car, my old one, the banana, the one that I raced a bunch, go check it out. That car is super sick. There's videos of it on the channel. I still follow along with the new owner. Will I buy it back eventually? I don't know, but we're okay to have sold it. So anyways, the gauges are in. They look awesome up here. The big thing that I hate with doing pillar gauges in your car, so pillar gauges like totally 90s, you got the 3-pod going up here, is that they reflect right in your face. So these are pretty low and you can still look past them. The one thing that kind of irks me still, went too far on my key, is that you can see a little bit of the gauge reflecting in the windshield. So I may build a little another hat bill, a longer one for these, but I don't know. It's good enough as it is. They barely do, and if they were tipped a little bit flatter or down like this, then obviously they wouldn't, but it's just because they are kind of tipped up and out, but no big deal. I don't have them sticky taped down yet because, look at this. Pay attention to the left gauge. Alright, if I wanted to go to a rave every night that I drove my car, I would leave this gauge in here. But since I had already repurposed a water temperature gauge for oil temperature, I'm going to leave this in here until it drives me up the wall the first few times I start to drive it in the next couple months. And then when it does, I'm going to replace that with an oil temperature gauge. So it says oil temp here. And then, it won't flicker. I'm still going to keep the green. I honestly don't mind the green. Y'all saw it in the dark. Not too bad. I don't really like red, even though red would match this. And I'm curious if I can get orange. As you can see by the color I have my radio set to, I prefer to keep everything like one color. I don't like my radio going all psychedelic color changing on me. You know what I'm saying? When it resets and it goes back crazy. So that's that. I'm pretty stoked with how this came out. I am going to refrain from putting the seat in here for 1 or 2, 3, 6 reasons. One, I don't want to get that seat super dirty while I'm getting in and out of the car all the time. 2, I'm just going to set the factory seat back in it because I need to get back here and do some bin rot repair. This car has some pretty gnarly rust back here. But for those who know the story behind this whole swap, I swapped to this chassis because it was less rusty than the silver car, but also because this one has never had rust repair done to it. So everywhere I cut into, I'm cutting into original metal. The silver car had already had some pretty shoddy rust repair, so I didn't want to even try to fix it on that. But honestly, though, this thing is looking sick. And I'm pretty stoked. I'm really happy with how it is coming together, the gauge thing coming together. Here's it from the outside. So you'll like my little cover here for the back of the gauges. I was looking for some thin plastic, couldn't really find any, so I had an old bar and chain oil. This is an oil can, right? You put your chain lube, whatever, you get your oil in it. And I just cut the back out of that, trimmed it to fit that, and then used 2 small bits of this 3M double-side tape right here, just on the edges, and pinched it down, and it honestly looks fantastic. Here, I'll just pull this out of here so you can see it. You know, like you'd never know that wasn't made to be like that, besides me having ground it down here so it fits a little lower. But like, guys, this thing is legit. And just sits right there. I'm going to put a little piece of double-side tape on both ends so it doesn't fall down. It shouldn't rattle because it doesn't touch the windshield. And I think we're good. I really like that positioning. So if that's something you're interested in, I can talk to my buddy Josh, or he's going to watch this video. And he can comment below or whatever. But hopefully one of these days, next couple months, we can start selling parts to you guys, working on developing things, and maybe throw that up on the list. We'll refine it a little bit, maybe make it a little bit smaller so we can tuck it back in there a little bit further and extend the hat bills a little bit so that the gauges don't shine in your eyes. But it's a pretty clean look compared to like putting gauges out here. And then in particular, I would prefer my gauges to be where I can see them, but if you're doing a delete or a single DIN radio, you could put them over here. But when you're racing and you're driving real fast, real hard, and you have mechanical sympathy, it's hard to take your eyes off the road and look at your gauges. So if they're right up in your face, you can see them better. So that's that. Thank you guys very much, though, for hanging on with my computer issues. And these videos are just going to go up, bam, 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 this week, because even though the upload stopped, me doing stuff at home and filming didn't stop, so I just had to edit at a later date once the computer got fixed. Man, first shin door creak. So I am headed out to Cars and Coffee this weekend, which is going to be pretty sweet. I'm probably going to take the Corvette, but I may do some filming there for the intro of the next video, so get stoked. And if you guys like to see some of that stuff from Nashville Cars and Coffee, it's a huge event. Tons of people go out there. You're welcome to try to come to them and see if you can find me there. There's normally like a couple thousand people there, so it's huge. But it should be fun. I'm excited to get this thing there. So next bits for the rally, or for this car, even though I've been talking for a while, I'm working on, this week, I'm going to work on building an airbox for this car. So everyone says, oh, you don't run filters, etc., etc. So what I want to build is I'm going to take my oil neck off. I'm going to build a box that goes this way with a tube on the end of it so I can put a filter down there where the battery is. And then I'm going to relocate my battery to this side. So the battery will be over here. The airbox will go that way. And then I can keep, I don't have to try to do a filter there or little comb filters. And then I'm going to leave a hole through the airbox, right? Put a piece of pipe in it and seal it so that I can take my oil cap off and you can fill the oil through the airbox, and I don't have to remove the airbox to change my oil, which is a real pain in the butt. So, or I'm going to make a little piece that takes the oil cap and like runs it out and up, you know, like a little angle piece under the thing. I don't know. I think the hole through the airbox would be cool. Comment below. Let me know. So, get stoked for that. I think I'm going to wrap it red. I have a bunch of red vinyl left from the other car, or from the rally car. So I'm going to use some of that and wrap the airbox red and put a clear topper on it so you can see my Weber working, and then I can make sure fuel's not coming out of it. The other thing I'm working on this weekend, so you guys will see this later in the week, is I'm going to lay out the hood stripes on the rally car. So I'm going to take a picture of the hood, draw the hood stripes in myself, because I don't have a good picture of how they actually are that I could project on it. So my hand draw them in the computer, and then mirror it so they're the same. And then I'll set my projector up so I can project it onto the hood and lay those stripes out this weekend. I had to order some more the fine line tape or whatever you call it for masking that off. So anyways, I'm going to leave you guys off there. That's getting some stuff done on the 99 car. I did talk to Justin too, and I think I'm going to kind of push back forcing the rally car to get done, and I'm going to finish up the RX-8 here in the next couple weeks because we have some track days coming up. And I really want the white rally car to be perfect and like done really well. So I'm not trying to rush that and then rush through the RX-8. So we're kind of pushing off the sale of the rally car for another couple months, which, you know, not the best thing, but it is what it is. I really want that car to be dialed and right when we go to sell it. So that is that. And I really want to kind of have some time to rip on it a little bit too, make sure it's not going to go through the roof. So anyways, thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Keep it rad. Oh yeah, Charles made this shift knob for the white car out there a long time ago. I was going to put it on this, but it's not drilled and tapped. So I'm hoping I can talk Charles into, one, letting me have this, but two, it's been riding in the glove box of the car for a long time, but two, bringing his drill and tap to Cars and Coffee tomorrow so we can tap this, and then I can put this rotor-shaped epoxy shift knob in the car. And then I need a boot, which this isn't red, but who cares? Things don't have to match around here. We don't have to match.